This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Paddle and Fin podcast, the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment, where we try to improve our skills as an angler by learning new techniques or improving the ones we already know. I'm your host, Ryan Milford.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Bass Fishing for Noobs segment of the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm your host, Sean Lavery. With me, as always, is my co-host, Ryan Milford. What's up, Ryan?
What's going on, man?
Hey, not much. Tonight, we have a good friend of mine on. His name is Paul Strohm. He is the head of my local Heroes on the Water chapter, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about that and also a couple other things. So welcome to the show, Paul.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. So, I guess we'll start off by letting the people know who you are, how you got into kayak fishing, and whatever else you want to tell them about you.
Okay. Well, my name is Paul Strohm. I am the now the state chapter coordinator for Heroes on the Water for Pennsylvania. I got into kayak fishing. For the longest time, I wanted to get a kayak, and then I got on YouTube one day and I was like, dude, people fish out of kayaks. And so I was like, I'm going to try that out. And so I originally got a Vive 130 Seagos 130. And
I used to have one of those.
Yeah, I just, being a newbie, getting into it, I wanted something that I didn't have to spend a ton of time on, and got everything I needed, a rudder and all that stuff. And then I was fishing for crappie, actually. It's what I got into. And then in 2018, and I was going to a lake where we're at called Pinchot, and some guy comes by and says, "Hey, bass are biting on topwater." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "And if that doesn't work, try a wacky rig." And I'm like, "What's that?" And his name was Jake Harshman, and he gave me a couple of Senkos and told me how to hook them up. I was like, sure. So about halfway through my day of crappie fishing, I wasn't catching anything. I said, well, he told me to go check out, throw them underneath some trees. And when I caught 3 bass, bam, bam, bam. And I was hooked. And I've been fishing for bass ever since out of a kayak, And then I got into kayak anglers in our local area. And a bunch of those anglers were gracious enough to give me a lot of tips. And I've got a bunch of mentors that I really respect and take their advice to heart. And that really been what I've grown on. And this year was the first time that if we were actually going to pay out on a tournament, the 360 tournament, and only the top winner gets to move on to the final tournament for a new kayak. And I lost it by 1.5 inches. And I was kicking myself, and it was the last 30 minutes of the kayak tournament too.
I was just glad I didn't get skunked in that one. I thought for sure I was going to, because it was cold the week that I went.
Oh yeah, well I was out there with one of the participants just to keep them company. And I remember that was like 28 degrees and it snowed.
Yep. It was definitely a chilly day. So.
Yep.
Count me out there. I live down in Tennessee. 28, that's too cold to be out there.
Huh.
And now, Paul, what are you? You're fishing out of a pro angler, right?
Yeah, I'm in a Hobie PA 14 now.
Okay.
I'm what you call a very cheap fisherman. I never buy anything new or unless it's on sale. I try to get.
That's what I've always called. I've called myself the budget fisherman.
Yep. And I even got to the point where I'm doing stuff that just to save money in the little things now too.
We can definitely talk about that a little bit later, because I've seen some of the things you've been doing and it's pretty cool. So, but why don't you tell us a little bit about Heroes on the Water, how you got involved with them, and then what kind of their messages and whatever else you want to say about them.
Okay. Heroes on the Water, we're a nonprofit organization that is across the United States. We're in 48 different states now. We have 60 chapters across the United States. We we take we take vets, first responders, out and their families, which is a nice thing because we're one of the very few nonprofit organizations that involve families in these type of things. We're an alternative therapy process. And I always say, the three-pronged process. It's physical therapy, emotional therapy, and occupational therapy, which you can all do all three of those things in a kayak. And we are run by volunteers. I'm a volunteer. No one ever gets paid. All the money that we raise goes directly into our organization. We have over 40 volunteers in just our chapter now. And just last year, we almost hit 200 vets that we took out fishing. And like I said, we provide everything: the kayak, the license, the fishing gear, the bait, and the guide. And a lot of times we find ourselves out fishing with veterans that are disabled, and they don't really fish, but they go out there and they want somebody to talk to. And once they get on the water, it's amazing how easily they open up and just start talking. And one of the things study has been done that shows that kayaking helps with post-traumatic stress and general anxiety. And so this is a great opportunity, not just for our veterans, but for our volunteers. I always tell everybody, I said, I think I get as much out of it as the volunteers do. And we have at least 4 to 5 events. We try to do once a month throughout the summer. And
that's awesome. I've always liked the idea of the Heroes on the Water organization. I've always thought that was a cool thing. And actually, one of our sponsors, Hammered Lures, they take people that like all their beat up, ripped up soft plastics. If you save those and send them to the address in the show notes for the podcast, he melts those down, makes new lures, and donates those to different chapters of Heroes on the Water. So that's something really cool he does to help with that.
And Paul, he's actually pretty close to us. I think he's in Camp Hill, so okay. He's not far. I've actually talked to him a few times. He seems like a pretty cool guy.
I've actually bought his lures, but I've never actually talked to him or anything. Didn't know he did that for us.
Yeah. He's definitely a cool guy. So
I'm not sure.
I think he has. The last time I talked to him about sending him some of mine, he's like, I have more than I can actually melt down right now. So he's like, just hold on to him and I'll let you know. And he actually has another guy helping him out because he has so much. But
I can imagine here at Paddle and Fin, we've been pushing that for like a year now. So
yeah,
everybody's sending in there. I've actually got a big old thing of swim baits since I've been on a swim bait kick that I need to send them.
I have bits and pieces of stuff too. Go ahead, Paul.
And Heroes in the Water, we're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for sponsors. And you can always just go on heroesonthewater.org and go to the webpage, and where it says participate at the top, click it, and then it says start a chapter. There's volunteer, there's a sponsor, and a vehicle donation tab. And you can click on the volunteer thing, go down, fill out your information. And it doesn't matter what state you're in, because it goes to the main headquarters. And what they do is they send it out to the closest Heroes on the Water chapter, and then somebody from there will get in touch with you. And so there's opportunities to participate as a participant or a volunteer.
That's something that I'd like to look into. It's something I'd personally like to be a part of. It'd be pretty cool. I haven't looked into it to see if there's one around here. I'm in the Nashville area, but with that, do you have to have an extra kayak of your own for them to use, or do y'all have some? Or
we prefer that people have their own kayaks, but it's not necessary, because if we have an extra one, a lot of the volunteers have extra kayaks, and I know, like myself, I bring an extra one My wife comes out with me too and participates. So there's all kinds of people that come out and help out. And like if somebody somebody wanted to volunteer with us and didn't have a kayak, if they got in touch with me, I would arrange it so that they have one at the time that started that event.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say I don't have an extra kayak right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe sometime in the future get one for my wife or something. But
Yeah.
right now I don't, so I would have to find another kayak for them to use for me to do it.
Mm.
But I guess we work with a lot of outfitters too that let us use theirs. So
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah, we do.
and that it's pretty amazing when they just kind of let us use their whole demo fleet to take the participants out on the water too. So
like our big event last year, we had over 150 people show up, and our chapter only has about 26 or so kayaks. So the sponsor of that, the Shanksmere Outfitter, they volunteered all their fleet. We got them out. We had people waiting in line to get into kayaks. That's the person who met you.
Yep, that was that was the first event I went to, and I was just blown away, by the camaraderie of just the group together. And I think there was Maryland, did the Maryland people come up for that too?
Yeah, they did too. That's why we had 26 kayaks that day.
Yeah, so it's awesome to see everybody working together, and the amount of people that came out to that one was incredible too. So
yeah, and then that one we're sponsored by the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and they do a dinner afterwards. And we do that one every year. And there's certain ones that we do every year because they've been great sponsors and they've helped us out, providing food for everyone and stuff like that. Usually it's the meals that they provide for us because each one of our events, the food, the snacks on the water, and the meal afterwards, and all the drinks and stuff like that, our sponsors provide that for us.
And that's actually, I think that was the event that I met Jim Dolan.
Yeah, he was there that time.
So Jim Dolan is the guy who founded Heroes on the Water, and he actually passed away last year, shortly after that meeting. So I was just happy to get to meet him. He's such a cool guy. I talked to him for a while and about everything. He's a super humble guy, super nice guy, just a huge heart. And like I said, unfortunately, he passed away very soon after that, if I remember correctly, and it was a shock. But I was blessed to get to meet him at that event. So Paul, you were a veteran too, right? I remember seeing pictures on Facebook. So
I spent some time in the Army.
So thank you for your service
Thank you.
on behalf of us. So
Yeah,
is that how kind of you got into that, or what led you to Heroes on the Water?
Well, it was actually I met a bunch of people in kayak anglers.
Okay.
And I met Adam Gagne, which he at the time was the coordinator, and he's still part of the organization now. He just needed some time off, and so we're like, okay. And he asked me if I'd take over. And he's still my right-hand man and all that. So I always try to run things by him when I have a new idea and stuff, and he sort of keeps me grounded. And but yeah, a lot of the guys in Kayak Anglers of Central Pennsylvania are part of my volunteer base, and it's great. I get to fish with them on tournaments and stuff like that, and then I turn around and they come out and help me.
I have actually been a member of Kayak Anglers for PA for 2 years now, and I have yet to do a tournament. So I think except for the 361 or that was my first kind of experience, and I keep saying I want to try it, but I never thought I was good enough. But I'm going to give it a try here this year, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, the guys in Kayak Anglers, it was amazing because I'd go out on the river and we'd be on a tournament, and they're like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not doing so great." And they handed me a lure and say, "Hey, fish right here." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yep." And I catch fish and I get my limit. That's the kind of guys that are in that group. They're willing to share the knowledge in the spot. That's what got me. Is like they're not just saying, "Oh, it's Susquehanna River." They're like, "No, the Susquehanna River right here. Throw this, and this is how you should do it." And then,
well, that seems to be something with like just kayak anglers in general. You know, they seem to be a lot more willing to share. Sorry, I got choked up on my tea a minute ago. But yeah, they just seem like they're really willing to share knowledge and help each other out and everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that so much when I used to have a boat. Yeah.
I think bass boat guys are definitely different, just from the little experience I've had with it, you know. And there's, I don't know how many times I've been out paddling and somebody will paddle by me and stop and, you know, chat. And I just love that about our sport, how cool everyone is and how friendly. And it definitely helps take some of the intimidation factor out for us noobs. So
yeah, I remember my first tournament. I was like calling people, "Hey, are you fishing this tournament?" And I finally found somebody. Said, "Hey, do you mind if I just tag along?" And they're like, "Sure, no problem."
And I've been bashful enough I haven't tried that. I know you told me about that, and I'm like, I just feel weird doing that, but I guess got to do it and see
You just got to do it.
Who says yes.
And the cool thing about it is, like I said, you know, a lot of those people that I met in kayak anglers, they're involved with that, with Heroes on the Water. And, you know, we're the guys that are going out, and, you know, a group of us are going out. We're fishing with each other all the time. We're checking up on each other, you know, doing that buddy check, saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Because a lot of us are veterans, you know, and we have all our, I guess you might say, our demons, you know. And it's one of the reasons that Heroes on the Water means so much to me, because that camaraderie. But I also know that, you know, we have things going on in our lives, and so it helps me to be more accountable to check up on my buddy and check up on that veteran when I don't hear from them and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially in times like it is right now, where everybody's super stressed out and anxiety's running crazy. So it's definitely a good lifeline to keep in touch with people and have someone, you know, looking out for you and you looking out for other people. So
absolutely,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So when you get that text message, you know why.
Hey, light me up, man. That's what I'm here for. So
all right.
Go ahead, Ryan. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna ask. You know, you talked about when you first got into bass fishing. You know, I think you said dude gave you a wacky rig and stuff like that. Is that still like a go-to technique that you use now, or you got some other ones you like better? Or?
The wacky rig is my go-to, because, you know, I feel comfortable. It's my safe zone, per se. And but I've changed how I rig it a little bit. You know, when I first started, I was just using an offset hook, sliding a hook through the center, and then after each fish, I was loading another one on. And then now I'm using an O-ring, now using a DMC Nico rig hook instead of a wacky rig hook. And I found that my hookups are better. And I use the weedless one, so I can throw it up into a tree, because that carbon fiber weed guard on there, and it's amazing how many times I pull it out of a tree I threw up in the air. That weed guard saved me a ton.
That's also my go-to. It's what I first started really catching fish on, and and I use it still for a lot of the same reasons. Because I'm still, you know, when I'm fishing the bank and laydowns and stuff, I often screw up and plant one halfway up the tree, and it just comes back through amazingly. I started using weighted hooks a little bit just because of the time it takes for it to sink at times, but it depends on what the bite's like. If they're hitting weightless, I don't worry about it. But if I'm having a little bit of a slow day, sometimes I either put a split shot on the hook or switch to a weighted wacky to throw a little bit, just to speed it up, the fall up a little bit. But
yeah, it depends on the water, how deep the water I'm fishing. Sometimes I'll put a nail weight in just to fall quicker, and then depends on if I'm an eddy that's got a vertical side on it, then I'll throw a nail weight in there and actually do like a Nico rig.
Okay.
The exact same wacky rig.
I think Dan Perry, one of our hosts, was talking though that one of the things about a Nico rig is actually how you hook it through the Senko, that you actually hook it in line with the Senko, instead of, like, when I hook a wacky rig, I hook it sideways, you know, so the hook is off the side. But he is saying that one of the main differences between a Nico rig and a wacky rig is the hook actually goes in line with the worm.
And you see, that kind of threw me off because I've never thrown a wacky rig. That's something I need to. I need to tie it on and throw it next time I'm out and give it a shot. But like I've looked into it, and some people use like the bands around the worm so they don't tear the worm up.
That's
And
what
just yeah. So it seems like if you put the band around the worm and then put the hook through there, it's already going to be like in line with the worm.
It is
for like a Nico style. So how would you, if you're supposed to throw it the other way with a wacky rig, how do you get it like that using the band?
Well, instead of just going straight through the band, you sort of cockeye it and shove it through the band. The biggest reason having that band on is that you're not ripping your bait in half and losing it every time you catch a fish. So instead of a Nico rig, you'll take that ring and stick the hook in like this. And when I do the wacky rig, I sort of skive it up to the side so it's still hanging sort of like that. And then like I said, I always use that VMC Nico, the weedless Nico hook, and so it always has that carbon fiber weed guard on it, which works great. I throw it in everything, but I'm always looking for another way to rig something up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna try this rig I just found out about. Just watching videos and reading. It's called a tiny child rig. It's like a Ned rig, but it's weedless.
Yep. I actually just tried it on Monday night on the river. I caught one smallie on it. So
is that like the Ned rig heads that are on like an offset worm hook type thing? Or
Xena makes these little. It looks like a worm weight, and you shove it up inside their TRDs or their Zinkers or whatever, but it doesn't have a hook on it. It looks like the weight that you would get on a Ned hook. You stick that in the bottom, and then you take an offset hook and put it up top, so it's weedless. So you can literally throw it in a tree, and it would sink between the limbs and stuff like that, and you wouldn't get hung up.
And also come back out. So
yeah,
I think we actually had somebody talking about that not too long ago on here.
In the chat.
Was it the chat?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
where I had just seen it on Facebook, and I think either Dan or somebody mentioned it on the chat, and so I put an order in quick because I knew I was going to the river on Monday night, and I tried it, and it reminded me of the Ned rig, the feel of it, but it was cool that it just didn't hang up as much as because when I throw the Ned rig in the river, I hang up a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I rig mine up weedless.
I started to do that too, and that has helped. But this one, you don't even have to worry about that for the most part.
And if you don't have that Z-Man weight, you can just throw a nail weight in the center of it. And what I've done is I've taken a bob skewer and shoved up in the center of it, make a little hole, and you shove that nail weight in and put a little super glue on it, so it doesn't come out real easy.
You see, that's how I do. That's the JigMaster Ned rig head. It's got the spiral bait keeper on there, so I just kind of put it in a little bit, then come out the side like I'm Texas rigging.
Yeah.
I put it up there, then I twist it on, and then just put it on the back like a Texas rig, and it don't get hung up too much. It's pretty good.
I started using a wobble head football jig, like a football wobble
like a
head.
swing head.
Yeah. And then I rig my Ned rigs on that weedless, like a Texas rig almost.
Yeah.
Because it's got an offset hook on it. And then what I found is that I don't get hung up quite as much as if I'm using a Ned rig.
And you just drag that the same way you would a Ned rig? Okay.
But what's nice about it is that, especially when you're using like creature crawls, I use Z-Man stuff a lot of their plastics, and when that current's in there, since it's on that hook's free floating, that bait sort of floats back and forth like that too.
Okay.
So getting
Gives a little bit more movement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now with that, do you have to get some that have like a really small hook on it? Because I feel like a normal swing head's going to have, like a 3 or 4/0 hook, and I feel like that's going to go way up in the Ned rig and take away from its action some.
The smallest I've ever seen in the store was with a 2/0 hook, and I think that's still too big because I like the 1/0 hook. So I was ordering them from a guy out of Arkansas. He was special making them, but then he quit making jigs for people. So I just ordered my own football wobblehead mold.
Yeah. I was gonna say what it made me think about. I've got a buddy that's got a mold, and he's made me some before, and I was like, I could just go, he's basically like, just buy the hooks and bring them to me, and I'll make them for you.
Yeah.
So whatever hooks I want. So that made me think, like, get some really small, offset hooks and take them to him. Might try that out.
Yeah. And like I said, in the river, I get a lot less hung up with those football head jigs, the football style weight on it.
I was wondering about the weights themselves, because most of the time I've seen those wobble heads, they're pretty good amount of weight. Do you use, is it downsized weight, like 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, or?
I always use an 1/8 ounce.
Okay.
Any of my TRDs or stuff like that, I use 1/8 ounce or smaller, but the smallest mold I was able to find or anybody could make for me was an 8, so that's what I stuck with.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what size my buddy's got. But yeah, they do make, like, there's some companies out there that do make like a Ned rig head that has like an offset hook style on it. Now I've thought about trying that out because I love being weedless. I can't stand an exposed hook because if it's exposed, I'm gonna get it hung up on something. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, one of the cool things that I saw you doing too, Paul, is you're making your own chatterbaits. So what's involved with that?
Well, I know, Ryan. You see one of your episodes. You were talking about Jackhammer by Z-Man and all that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can't wait to use this new Chatterbait because I was using the original for the longest time. And then I went to the store and realized at the time they were like $20 because they just and I bought like 4 or 5 of them because I was at Bass Pro and they had a big sale, like 15-20% off. So I bought 5 of them. And then the first tournament I used them, I lost 3 in a row and I almost cried. I was like, there's no way I was scared to throw them where I needed to throw them. And then last year I went to a tournament down in Delaware, and a buddy of mine asked me if I wanted to go. And I said, sure. I don't have anything else to do. I'd never fished KBF at that point. And I went down there and took me to this little pond, and it wasn't very big. And he said chatterbaits. And so I had a jackhammer, I had original, and I just was ready to throw where I needed to throw it. And then I look over to him, and he threw it over there and caught 2 20-inchers back to back, but he was like throwing it up in the wood, right up against the wood. And I was like, there's no way. And so I ended up losing both of them. And he gave me a Thunder Cricket. He says, I don't have any more jackhammers. Try this out. And then I ended up getting my limit, and I think I got 8th place, and that was the closest I've ever gotten to the payoff on any tournament. And I was like, man, this is amazing. He goes, you have to throw it in those places. And so I got thinking about it, and I'm like, how much would it be to make? So I went on YouTube and I was looking at some different people making them, and this one channel called That Guy Skimpy, and I typed in chatterbaits, how to make them. He popped up first, and I was watching him. I'm like, this isn't hard at all. I just got to get the right mold and get the blades and all that. And then I ended up looking at what he was using, and I was like, oh, it was just an Arky head jig, and then split ring and a blade, and then a quick swivel snap. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went out and bought them. I made all the jigs, and I was like, okay, now I need to figure out how to paint them. So I was online, and and people using this ProTech powder paint and baking them. So I was like, okay, I could do that. It's not hard. They're just taking a heat gun and dipping them and then baking them. So the first time I did that, my wife wasn't quite happy with me because I had over dipped them, stuck them in the oven, and the paint dripped in the oven. And then I was like, I could take care of that. So I turned on, the automatic cleaning cycle. Man, my house stunk so bad.
Oh, I bet.
Well, you got to watch out with that too. You know, if you're putting those lead heads in there, you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of toxic. You know, I I don't really do it anymore. I still got the stuff, but like I used to make football jigs,
Hmm.
and like if I didn't have it really ventilated whenever they're cooking,
Yeah.
man, it'd choke you up in there.
Well, I don't pour unless I'm outside right now because I don't have a real ventilated good basement
Yeah.
where I do my work. So if I have a nice day and I have all the hooks and all this stuff, I just go out and I pour 100, 200 jigs, heads, and then I go downstairs and I clean them up and then I dip them and then what I ended up Trina made me end up doing is I had to go out and buy me a little toaster oven
Yeah.
and that's what I'm cooking everything in now. She was not happy with me. She's like, "Go get something else. You got to do something else." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So now I bake them in the toaster oven.
Luckily, when I started making my jigs, my grandma just so happened to have like an old toaster oven sitting in the garage that she didn't use, so
Yeah.
she gave that to me. You know, it was kind of beat up, but it worked. So that's what I've always used too.
All right, so I don't know much about pouring my own jigs. What all is involved with that? You buy chunks of lead, you have a melting pot, you melt it down. Is that the
Yeah.
gist of it, or?
You get a melting pot and you buy pieces of lead. You can buy them in most outdoor shops. You can go to salvage yards, see if they have them. If you call up a roofing company and they've been doing some old roofs that a lot of old roofs, old homes had lead underlying. Um, like they put the weather guard on now. They just
Mhm.
put lead down, then put your shingles down, and they pull it up. And the problem is it's hard to get rid of lead. So they're a lot of times they're willing to just give it to you.
Wow.
And so you just got to find a roofing company that's done an old house lately
Okay.
because it's really hard to get rid of lead now. And so and then you go out there and what you want is you want to try to make sure your lead is as pure as possible. 98% is great, and that's why roofing lead's good because it's super soft because it's pure, and so they're able to shoot nails right through it. And so you
Okay.
melt it down. You can go to tire shops and collect the lead weights they use, but the problem is what nowadays is that a lot of them have zinc
Dirty.
and they're dirty. So you have to melt them out. You got to pull all the impurities out, and it's a longer process.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know a big issue I ran into. See, I went to a salvage yard and bought like I think it was like 5 or 10 pounds of lead,
Hmm.
and it was these big like brick looking things.
Yeah.
And I first off they wouldn't fit in my melting pot, so I had to take a sawzall and cut them in half so I can get
Yeah.
them in there. But it was like really dirty stuff. Like it a lot of trash would like come up to the top
Mhm.
and it would stop up my melting pot. And so I used I forget what it's called. It's like a pear thing where anyways, it's like a little spoon thing with a hole in it. And
Oh yeah, yeah, a ladle.
Or like
but
a pitter to take the pit out
yeah,
of
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I dipped that in there to dip the trash out. But it got to the point to where I felt like I had more trash than it was lead.
Mm.
I just tried to go the cheaper route because it was a lot cheaper doing that than going to like Bass Pro or something and buying those lead sticks.
Yeah. Well, Bass Pro, I think it's 5 pounds for like $25,
Yeah,
which which
and
is crazy.
I got like 5 pounds for like what $5 or $10 or something.
Yeah, because I was buying it last time I bought lead. I bought it 100 pounds of it for 50 cents a pound,
Wow.
and then
Yeah, now I think about it, I think it was like 60 or so cents a
yeah,
pound where I bought it.
yeah. Most salvage yards are just they have piles of it and they're just trying to get rid of it because no one really wants it, you know. And then
Interesting.
like just last night I did 8 chatterbaits, painted them up, and I pour a bunch of heads, and then as I need them, I paint them and put blades on them and stuff like that. And I was watching a YouTube video, and I tried a different process. Instead of using a hook at the attaching straight to a hook like Z-Man does, I ended up using a wire form. I took a spinnerbait hook and used a wire form, and what I ended up with was a head like that. I don't know if you guys can see that or not.
Okay.
And this isn't actually a hook; it's a piece of wire that's inside my leg.
Yeah.
And then that way I can attach it, sort of like that. And I started using a poison head jig because it gives you more of that minnow-looking head on it. It's more aesthetics than anything else, I think. You know, making sure it looks good. And
Yeah, that looks pretty good right there.
And I put eyes on it, and like I said, I don't know if the fish really care about eyes, but it looks good to me.
That looks pretty professional, man.
Yeah, I like that. You know, you don't see many other than, you know, like the big companies, you know, doing them. What most of them are using like a split ring make them at home.
Like this. Let me pull the skirt down. They're sort of using a split ring and all like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is an archy head jig, which I wish I'm going to see if I can use the wire form with it, because this jig is awesome to throw into woods and stuff, because the way it's built, it sort of hops over stuff. And literally threw the log and caught a fish on the other side of the log and was able to drag him across the log and stuff like that. Where I wouldn't have dared to throw a jackhammer, you know what I mean? You know, because, you know, there's no way I was throwing that jackhammer in over that log and get it stuck. You know,
Right.
These are costing me a little less than $2 to make. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I was going to
That's
ask you that, but I wasn't sure if you sold them, and I didn't want to put your business out there and all that.
Well, these here, the ones with the archy head jigs, you know, like $2 right in there. Depends on what I do with them. $2, $2.50, and you know, and so you got to make a profit.
Yeah. Well, see, what a lot of people, when I was making them, you know, I'd sell them to people, and some people like would kind of like snarl their nose at your price or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I cost wise for material is pretty cheap, but think about how much time you're putting into it.
That's what you have to think about.
How many can you make in an hour?
An hour?
Like start to finish.
Well, after I pour them, and then when I get to painting them and baking them and all that, I could probably do 10 to 15 in an hour by the time everything's said and done, not including the pour.
Yeah, because see, I got to where I can make like 10 in football head jigs in an hour, which, I mean, I'm sure I could get better and get faster doing it consistently, but I just do, you know, some here and there. But I mean, you do the math on that, and, you know, sell them for whatever, a few bucks or whatever, you're really not making that much for your time putting into it.
But this right here is what I get done before I get the skirts on it and all that.
Yeah.
I could probably do about 15 of them prior to doing the skirt. You know, getting the ring on and all that stuff, and paint them and baking them. And then, you know, but the skirts, I ban my skirts because when I go out and the fish takes part of my skirt, I can just throw another one. I always have extra skirts with me, and I just throw another one on. I know some people prefer them tied. I tie them, but it's just so much easier to replace them if you have a band on there.
And wire tying is very time consuming too.
Yes.
You know, I wire tied mine, and, you know, trying to get it perfect and trying to get it bent around there where you can start turning it. Then you get some caught up in your twist, and you got to try to get it out so you don't mess up the skirt. And it's a lot easier to slide a band on there.
And I just started. At first, I was using all silicone skirts, and then I got into using this living rubber skirt. Yeah. And man, that stuff's awesome in the water because it sort of billows when it's sitting on the bottom. It moves all the time, and I like it. But the only issue is you can't get like glitter in it. I haven't been able to find stuff with like glitter, different designs. It's sort of like a solid color or a single stripe across, stuff like that.
See, I even had some stuff that was textured. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, And
My
like,
wife's not going to be happy. I want to go try this now.
you know, it gave me peace about losing my lure. You know, if I lost a lure, I wasn't out of $20.
I'm right there. I am right
You know?
there. Believe me.
You know,
So
and like I said, you know, I'm throwing it in places that I never thought I'd catch fish out of, and I'm pulling. You know, my biggest bass of the last trip I went on, I was like between two logs, and I got it right into the right position, and I'm pulling this. I pulled a 5-pound bass out of this hole. You know, and I was just amazed that I got a bass out of there. You know.
And I was gonna say earlier when you were talking about losing that, I jinxed myself. I forget who it was we were talking to, but we did an episode, we records, and I was like, yeah, I haven't lost one yet. And then that very next time I went out, I caught a fish on one. I guess I didn't check my knot or the end of my line for abrasions or anything. Very next cast, a big fish hit it. I don't know. I never got to see it, but it was big. And when it hit it, set the hook, and about mid-set, it broke.
Oh man!
And I lost my first jackhammer. but I haven't really been too worried about throwing it into those hard to get to places because 99% of the time with me, whatever I'm throwing, I in a kayak, I can go right up there and get it out. I haven't had much issue with not being able to get something out unless it's like really deep or like 30, 40 feet up in a tree where I just lost it.
Yeah.
So how would you say your chatterbaits compare to like a jackhammer, like action wise? Do you feel like you're pretty on par with that, or?
I when building mine, I bend all my blades prior to. When I get a pack of 20 blades, I bend them all. The jackhammer has that slight bend at the top, and I like to bend mine actually a lot more compared to the jackhammer. I bend them really well. I don't know if you can see that right there. I bend it, and what I found in when I go through the water with my chatterbaits, they tend to do the search motion a lot more. It's a bigger swing, and I fish the jackhammers when I get them. I'm part of the mega bass thing, monster bass box. I've gotten jackhammers in them. I've gotten chatterbaits, in them, and the movement in the jackhammer is not as erratic as the ones. I think when you bend that blade a little more, you get a little more erratic movement in it, and so I don't compare them because of that, because I bend my blades a lot more. And then, but my biggest thing on it now is what I use as a trailer, because I found that I was watching some stuff and I realized that I was using paddle tails as trailers. And what happens a lot of times is that boot tail is kicking real hard. It's taken away from the action up front, and so it's not moving as well as it used to. So I watched a video on tactical bass, and I was like, hey, that makes sense. So I started buying sort of like a Yamamoto Zenko type thing, but I buy them from a company called Undercover Baits because they're a little stiffer. I found that the Yamamoto ones would always end up like this a lot, and because they're softer in the tail, and these also have a scent in them. They have a bubblegum scent, a grape scent, and maybe it's just me, but I get a lot more bites on this one too, on that in that.
Now, have you tried the Z-Man Razor Shad? I know you said you really like Z-Man products.
I have.
It's a similar type thing to that.
My biggest thing is you probably noticed that the material that Z-Man uses, it's really hard sometimes to get something up in. So you're fighting like 15 minutes trying to get it on, then it's not straight,
Yeah.
So that's why I bought this. I'm a big max scent guy when it comes to my Senkos. So I found that Powerbait makes a similar thing, but with their scent also. But I've been buying these because they're a reasonable price for undercover baits, and you can get them almost any color from them, and they work. And then when I run out of them, I cut the paddle off the back end of a paddle tail and just leave that tail, and it gives you the same type of movement, not as big a profile.
I remember seeing that on Tactical Bassin too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I use a pure white one, I'm using, let me see. I use this for my, it's just an old ribbon tail, but I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I cut it off about 3 rings up and just put the rear end on it. And I use the power bait ones. You know, they smell, they stink, and so I hope that helps. You know, but it gives it enough movement in the back end, but it's still not affecting the front of the chatterbait.
Right.
And that's what I started doing, and I've gotten more bites and hookups that way. Because I was using paddle tails for everything, you know, because they're cheap. You can buy them anywhere. You can go to Walmart and buy them and stuff. And like I said, like you said, you're a budget fisherman, and I'm like, if something's on sale, I just stock up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I was actually talking to a local guy not too long ago. I fished a little local event, and we were talking about his homemade like flag that for his guy, and I've got the Yak Attack one, and he's like, man, I wish I could get one of those. Like, the only reason that I'm using this and not a homemade one is because when Academy had that big sale back in like February or whatever, I got it for like $35. So,
well,
you can't pass that up. A $90 flag and light combo. Yeah.
It's like you said, you know, Academy. I started a project because, again, I'm cheap. I don't want to spend the money, but I took their wading floating fish net, because a lot of people lose their fish nets and kayaks, and I wanted a longer handle on it because it was only about 6-7 inches long. So I bought some Velcro and just used the fuzzy side and stuck it on. I took off the foam, and then I stuck that on there. I put some Loctite epoxy on the inside. I shoved a one-piece piece of PVC, and then once it hardens, I'm going to take wind grip that matches and wrap it, and then I'm going to fill it with sprayable foam so that
it floats.
Yeah.
But I got a 36-inch handle now.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few people taking those same nets and doing something similar to that.
Yeah.
I thought about it myself at one point because I do like those nets. My dad has one of those, but I had the same issue. Like, I want something with a longer handle.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, whenever I'm getting my board ready and my phone to take my picture and everything, I have the fish sitting in the net down here. I've got the handle running below my feet, and I got my foot sitting on the handle, and so I'm holding my net. But I ended up finding one on Amazon that I'm really liking, and it's got a little cord on it, so I just leash it to my kayak. That way, if it falls in, I ain't worried about it. I can just pull it right back up.
Yeah. Yep.
That is a cool idea with that, though.
Yeah. When I get it all done, I'll send you a picture.
Sweet. Yeah, because I might have to try and replicate that, because I still have a crappy like trout net, I think, or something that I'm using. It's little, so if I ever get anything big, it's going to be trouble.
that floating wading net was like $20, and then that piece of PVC was like $250, and then the wind grip's the most expensive thing, and I think it was like $13 for what I needed.
Okay. Cool.
And stuff, but yeah, like you said, I try not to spend money. Every rod I bought it on sale, or it was used. If somebody bought and didn't use, I bought rods at half the price and the tags were still on.
My most expensive rod that, like, value-wise, that I own, I got for free. My wife's uncle, back when I was making a bunch of jigs, I'd make him a bunch, and I wouldn't make him pay me anything for them. And he won it in a raffle at a tournament one day, and he called me up like, "Hey, what you need a new rod?" And he brought it to me and gave it to me for giving him a bunch of jigs. He said he didn't need it, so yeah. Other than that, I got a lot. I'm slowly upgrading, some of my stuff.
Yeah.
But
when I first got into the kayak bass fishing, I went to a fishing show, and I think the most expensive rod I bought was $15. And then now I've got some other rods, now that I know what materials to look for and stuff like that. But like I said, this is only my second season fishing for bass full time. Because when I lived in I used to live in Fort Campbell. My buddies and I would all go fishing
okay,
for catfish. That was a big thing on the river, in the Cumberland River, was fishing for catfish. When I lived in Texas, we used to go fish for the big blues down there and the stripers. And I didn't, and we could catch crappie, of course. And then if you caught a bass, it was just a bonus, And then I got up here and I started fishing for bass. And actually, I was thinking about, I started fishing. I did one Hopi Open BSO this year down in Norman, which didn't come out. It didn't do very well at all. And it was just fun to experience that national level. And some of those guys, they're out. I couldn't believe how much money they put into their stuff.
yeah,
I'm out there. Most expensive rod ever I have on my boat's like $50, and these guys are walking out with $500 rods. That's crazy.
I have one St. Croix rod that I won a fantasy baseball season, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna buy one nice rod. So, and then proceeded to use it 3 times and broke the tip off of it, and I was like, ah. But I think I had to pay another $40 or something to get it replaced, but it's back and working again. So
I have a St. Croix rod, and it was given to me brand new. And they're like, here, you can have it. I said, you sure? He goes, yeah, I won't use one like that. And so that's the only reason I have one.
Wow.
Like I said, I think the most expensive thing I've ever bought myself was $50, and that's because they were on 50% off, so I bought.
yeah. I think the most expensive rod I bought myself is about $50.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really probably my most used rod right now.
Yeah.
With me getting into this underspin and chatterbaits, I throw them both on that same rod.
Yeah.
Now my reels, I've gotten a few that are, they're not expensive, but expensive for me. But that was because the company online, they do a thing where you can make like 4 payments, break it up into 4 payments.
Yeah.
And it's the Enigma reels.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I got some of those, and they do we can do those payments, so it makes it where it's pretty cheap. You ain't like spending a bunch of money all at one time.
Yeah. Well, I did a lot of research, and most of my reels now are from Cast King.
I thought, I remembered you saying you had something going on with Cast King. So
yeah, I've been in the works trying to become one of their ambassadors, as they call it, pro staff. And with all this Corona stuff going on, they are rearranging their company, and so I'm still in touch with the guys there, talk to, and some of the guys that are already part of it. Eventually, hopefully, I'll get in with them. But that's what they're cheap, cost wise. But I found that I have a couple Shimano reels that I bought, not brand new, but they were pretty near brand new. And my casting reels are as good or better, and I got them set up. That's what I use for my Chatterbait rod. I have a Speed Demon rod, and I use a Cast King reel on there, and I've got it set up. And like I said, I've cast it close to 1,300 times in a day, and never had an issue with it. Okay. And now that I got it dialed in and everything, super smooth. So yeah, for the price, you can't beat it. And then I broke the tip off a rod called them up, and they're like, yeah, here's the code. Go to Amazon. We'll hook you up. Cost, I think it was $30 to replace it.
Yeah.
You see, right now, chatterbaits and underspins and everything, I'm throwing them on this lose combo.
Yeah.
I bought that reel from a dude on Facebook Marketplace. I think it's the reel that comes off like the $120 combo or whatever.
Yeah.
But the rod I already had whenever I bought it. I paid like $50 at Walmart for it, but it's a lose rod. But it's been a pretty good combo. But I'm planning on replacing this. I've got another one of those Enigma reels that I haven't even stringed up yet, but I'm waiting on a different. I want to get a different rod to put on it. See, I don't know why, but I feel kind of weird putting that Enigma reel on a lose rod. For some reason, I don't know why, but
I mix and match mine all over the place, man.
Well, I mean, everything else is mixed and matched, but I think maybe it's more of I just don't want to break up that lose combo like the real. I don't know. I'm weird.
What's your guys' setup for a chatterbait rod? Like medium, heavy, and then what line weights?
Go ahead.
Right. Yeah.
For me, this is a 7-foot medium heavy rod. The reel that I'm using is a 7-1-1. Okay, I think I'm kind of weird here too, but I tried like the braid to fluoro leader thing, and my line snapped within a few casts of trying it. So what I ended up doing was like half my spool is braid and the other half is fluoro. I was throwing 20-pound test fluoro on here, and just recently I picked up some. I finally decided to try some of the P line, and I got 15-pound.
Oh,
and this stuff is smooth. I'm like, why didn't I try that P line sooner? But yeah, I got 15-pound P line fluorocarbon that's being thrown on. But I have noticed since I swapped the line, the chatterbaits feel a lot heavier to me, and they don't feel as smooth whenever I'm reeling it. So I'm not sure if that's something to do with that line, or if I've changed something else up that like maybe the trailer's heavier. I'm not real sure what's going on with that.
What are you showing, Paul?
I have a 7-foot medium heavy moderate tip. It's basically, it says the chatterbait rod from the Casking, and I have it on a Royal Legend Elite reel from them, and this is the 6-1. But I have another rod from them, same setup, but I have the 7-1. I actually like the 7-1 just a little bit more because it brings it in a little quicker for me.
Okay.
But this one I used quite a bit prior to buying that one, and it doesn't reel in as quickly, of course, but I've caught just as many fish on this slower, and this is what actually the reel that will be going on my spinnerbait rod that I just got.
See, whenever I do upgrade that rod, I'm actually going to be going to an even faster reel. I think the one that I have ready to go is like 7.5-1. So not that much faster, but a little bit faster.
Yeah. And then I use P-line 15 pounds because I was actually using the chatterbait to catch, I was going out for snakehead, and I was doing the braid to fluorocarbon, and when I tossed it real hard, it would break where the knot was. And so I was like, I got to do something differently. And so I had a spool of the 15-pound P-line, and I put that on, and I don't have any problems when I'm casting stuff breaking off any because of that. And so that's why I stuck with it.
Curious, what kind of knot were you using?
I was using a wacky Alberto knot.
I'm not sure what a wacky Alberto knot is.
It's basically it's what they called it when I watched the video. It's an Alberto knot, but then you finish it off with a couple of hitch knots on the end so that that knot lays a little flatter, and that's it. And they called it a wacky. but it's an Alberto knot. It's basically what it was. And then I also, back in the day, I used to use uni to uni.
That's what I use.
Which I think makes a really small knot, and the Alberto makes a really small knot too. So I can't, either way, but they used to break where, real close to where that knot was. So I
always thought it depended on, like, if on micro guides, if it's hitting those guides a lot on the way through, I think that definitely.
I think that's what my issue was.
Yeah.
And I don't like feeling that knot come through the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because no matter how small your knot is, you still feel it.
Tick, 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 tick. Yep.
Yeah. And so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to cover, Paul? I guess we're getting on near an hour, right? Yeah, we're a little over. So.
Yeah, we're right at an hour.
No, it's like I said, I'm one of those budget fishermen. So if I can make it or modify it to make it better, I try to. I've never sold any of my chatterbaits, And,
I might be placing an order if you're offering.
Hey, I would be interested in trying them with you saying it had like a wider wobble. So
yeah,
might have to talk after we get off here.
Yeah, absolutely. You send me your addresses, I'll send you a couple. And then I wanted to offer a couple of them up to your winner for your June Noob tournament too.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Yeah, sweet.
You just let me know, and I'll send you one of each color that I make. And then
awesome.
Give them out.
I can meet you somewhere too to save you some shipping. So.
Sure. But yeah, Ryan, you give me your address or whatever, and I'll send you some.
All right, sweet. We'll talk a little bit after we get off here.
Okay, no problem.
Did you have anybody else you wanted to shout out or any social media or anything?
It's funny because I see that you're always like, hey, you got any sponsors? And actually, I don't have any.
Hey, that's all good. We talk to some people that don't have them. I don't have any myself either. Just a podcast here. And Sean, you don't have any, do you?
I don't either. No, when they made those angler cards for us, and I was looking at everybody else's, they have 20 sponsors, and I'm like, I got nothing.
I told my wife I didn't have any. She goes, you can just tell them I'm your sponsor.
There you go.
I said, what do you mean? She goes, because all the money comes out of the same account, so I am your sponsor.
Oh, man.
A funny story about her is last year we went to the KA dinner, and almost every weekend last summer I was gone fishing somewhere, and I looked over to her and said, I'm so blessed that you're so supportive of my fishing, because I'm gone every weekend. And she's like, oh, and I said, even sometimes the whole weekend. And she giggles, this evil giggle, and she goes, how do you know that's not my plan?
I'm lucky too. My wife puts up with my fishing trips for the most part. So
yeah.
Usually my fishing is a little more scarce, but since I've been off work for 2.5 months, I've been able to fish quite a bit. And
I'm a little jealous of that, man. I gotta say.
What part of Tennessee are you from?
I live about 40 miles south of Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, been off work for a while, so I've been fishing as much as I can because I know it's going to get scarce again whenever I go back to work.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Try and get out, at least once or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's been awesome talking to you. And
that was great to be on the show, man.
Yeah. Definitely. Listeners, go check out Heroes Online. You can Google it and find a chapter or close to you. Go out and volunteer. I promise you'll have a great time. You'll probably learn a ton of stuff too. I can't tell you how much I've learned and look forward to learning going out too. So anybody else who want to shout out?
No, like I said, if you're trying to look for a chapter close to you, go to heroesonthewater.org and click on participate, and in the box at the next page will have volunteer or participant. Click on it, fill out your information, and it'll go to the nearest chapter and somebody will get in touch with you.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to do my outro without messing it up. This has been the Fast Show for Noobs segment of the Paddlesports Podcast. We're bringing you the techniques, the tricks, and the tips to help you rip more lips. Good night, everyone.
Later.